Relative means that there is no absolute right or wrong in anything. Instead, morality and the rules associated with it are just a matter of personal opinion or happenstance, relative to or related to a particular framework, such as one's ethnicity, one's upbringing, or the culture or historic moment one is born into. It's
Of course.
nothing but an accident of birth. According to this argument, now a creed, history teaches that religions, tribes, nations, and ethnic groups tend to disagree about fundamental matters and always have. Today, the postmodernist left makes the additional claim that one group's morality is nothing but its attempt to exercise power over another group. So the decent thing to do, once it has become apparent how arbitrary our our society's moral values are, is to show tolerance for people who think differently, who come from different and people who come from different or diverse backgrounds. That emphasis on tolerance is so paramount that for many people, one of the worst character flaws a person can have is to be judgmental.
Okay.
And since we don't know right from wrong or what is good, just about the most inappropriate thing an adult can do is give a young person advice about how to live.
Mm-hmm.
That's from
Jordan,
page 12
Yeah,
for
cool.
Okay,
You
Home
really
Rules
need
for
to
this is
hear
Life.
the
very
entire
clear,
page
right?
on
I mean, what do you interpret
PDF.
from that, Sandman? What is he
What are
referring
you
to?
guys reading? What are you guys
Because
reading?
I know exactly what he's talking about.
That's
What are you
From
guys
Jordan
reading?
Peterson's book.
What did you guys understand from that, paraphrase
Peterson was
What
or
did you
phrase?
No, that was a
Oh, I
quote.
understand perfectly.
I'm just waiting for.
Well, can you explain to us what you understood?
Of course. So, this is the result of me observing Peterson in different, interviews. He has said that, he's referring there to the patriarchy and the left's attitude towards the moral values that, the society holds. And, what he's saying basically there is that, morality is relative. I don't know why you guys are saying that he didn't want to accept that, because in that um, reading, it was very clear that he acknowledges
He's a hard
that
objection.
morality is relative to their values
Objectivist,
and the fucking traditions and upbringing of people. So
How does Tasteless get Jordan Peterson is a subjectivist out of that quote? My mind is blown.
that
right
is
now.
that is his
Backwards.
reading of what morality is, and that is his meta ethics.
It's actually backwards of what his view is.
What?
He's an objectivist. He
Okay.
believes in
No,
God.
no, silence. But that's different. Having a meta ethics, or the way you perceive morality to be on society, it is different from your moral normative code that you use to act yourself or to act in society.
Look, you said that he
use.
doesn't. Look, you said that he doesn't think that there's an absolute moral code that applies to everybody. That's exactly what a
I think
moral
you're mistaken. I'm
objectivist
sorry. I
believes,
think
you
you're being
dumbass.
obstructive and you don't want to have a
Hey,
conversation.
I'm not
Silence.
being a-
don't just throw around insults. Let him
Look,
talk
I'm not being obstructive. I'm directly answering the issue.
without calling people dumbasses, please. So
Oh, sorry, I forgot this is the ACA.
Yeah, we try and promote respect
Yeah.
for everyone.
Yeah, sure.
Even though it gets heated, it's
Can
just
we
try and keep
just
in
get
mind.
can we just get?
So
a
I'm sorry,
response to that?
silent. I'm going to expose you. If you, I didn't want to do this, right? But you
Oh,
are
yeah,
confused
yeah.
between what a meta ethics framework is and what a normative set of code is. So in Jordan Peterson's case, he is specifically explaining where morality comes from, how is it derived, and in that particular reading that this guy Murder presented us, he was talking about the left's attitude towards those moral framework that they were trying to deny, or they were trying to say that those values were imposed by the patriarchy and that they were to be rejected because they were like a tool for power that they need to fight. So they are not going to oblige by those fucking moral codes, and that they are going to take any, let's say, example of that, like a person giving advice to a young as something negative because they are trying to use the power, to force
Pretty
them
done, Tasteless.
into submission. Yes.
Yeah, so of the meta-ethical position of objectivism is one of prescription. It's of prescriptive norms. If we're talking about prescriptive norms, then metaethics is directly relevant if that person prescribes the same universal moral laws for everyone under a universal arbiter that we call God.
He is not prescribing anything. He is talking about
God.
how morality works. He acknowledges that moral relativism is a thing, and he acknowledges that this is the meta-ethical
Where does he
position that he
acknowledge?
observed.
Where does he acknowledge that to be true, Tasteless? He
The
acknowledges
beginning.
it as.
Okay,
he
could you read it again
acknowledges
because
as
Silent
he
didn't pay
acknowledges-
attention.
Excuse me, I wasn't done. He acknowledges it as recognizes that the position exists, but he does not hold said position.
Of course, I'm not saying that he holds to that position. That is a different
Yeah, he
position.
doesn't hold
That
to
is
moral
his normative.
relativism.
Listen, Silent. In that reading, nowhere in there he was talking about his particular moral code. Okay, nowhere in there. Right? He is talking about
cares?
his
You're telling me
meta-ethical position.
You're saying that he's a relativist, and then you're immediately saying 2 seconds later that he's not.
Are you listening to what I'm saying?
Look,
I am saying that he presented his meta-ethical position, which is the way he thinks morality is constructed. Where is it derived from? That doesn't mean he holds to that position, Silent.
A moral non-realist, a moral subjectivist, a cultural relativist. These are all meta-ethical positions.
Do you know what that means?
You don't know what metaethics is. You have no idea what metaethics is.
No, I'm sorry, Silent. You don't know.
That is held in
metaphysics. If you know,
you have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, if you know, then please enlighten us. If not, I'm going to lecture you.
I just listed them out to you.
No, you named the meta-ethical positions, but you don't know what they are.
Of course I know what they are. Why would I sit here and teach you like you're a child?
What is okay, so you don't know. That's fine. So the idea is that, for some people, right, they have a perception about where morality comes from. And some people think, right, that morality comes from God, right? It is directly injected into our hearts. That's one position. Yeah, the other position, in the case of Jordan Peterson, he is acknowledging that morality comes from the set of values and beliefs that people hold, that people teach to their kids to engage in their respective societies. This is his meta-ethical positions, which is moral relativism, okay?
You think Jordan Peterson's a moral? This is going to be great.
I am not saying that.
He really does. Think
whenever this is very confusing for you guys, because whenever I am saying that that is his explanation of where morality comes from. Now,
it's going to be great when you talk to John next. Oh my god, I can't wait.
Guys, let him, one at a time, please.
So, in the morality that he holds, particularly that he uses to act himself, to act in the world, that is different. That is a normative framework that he will use. It is not the same thing, Silent. Those two are very different things. Okay, so you need to chill and you need to see this distinction.
First of all, moral relativism is the same thing as thinking different cultures can have different morals and they all are correct. That's what that position is, Tasteless. So if he goes, look, it's fine if other people have other fucking other morals, it's totally fine. If there's not one objective law, then he's not a moral relativist. Nothing about the quote and the excerpt that was read out to us indicated that he was a moral relativist.
It sounds like the apologist position.
So do you think, Silent, that there is a difference between people who think morality comes from God directly, injected into our hearts? That source of morality, do you think it's different from the moral relativist position, which claims that the morality of groups are going to be defined
from those two positions?
Yes, right. So that difference and those positions of explanation where morality comes from, that is that meta-ethical position. That doesn't mean he holds, right, or that he thinks that is correct or not. His moral code is different. That is a different thing.
Where it comes from is not a meta-ethical position.
I can't. I've already explained this like 10 times.
Go ahead,
I'm
Josh.
really fucking
Explain.
over. I'm really over this.
Maybe I'm wrong, Josh. Could you elaborate, please?
Yeah, there's like so if you're a moral realist, that's a meta-ethical position, which just talks about the nature of morality. But some theists might think morality comes from God or is grounded in God. Uh, there are atheists who think it's grounded in natural properties. So where it comes from is not a meta-ethical position. The meta-ethical position is moral realism, right? Where it comes from is something entirely different.
Oh, really? Well, let's say metaethics is a branch of analytic philosophy that explores the status, foundations, and scope of moral values, properties, and words.
Read
Whereas
the Google article.
whereas the fields of applied ethics and normative theory focus on what is moral. Metaethics focuses on what morality itself is. So, like I said, I was correct, and you were incorrect, Josh.
Oh my god! Can we just all end ourselves real quick?
This is actually not his writing. It's actually from the forward to his book by somebody else. I think I'm looking at it.
Oh, so the excerpt wasn't even from him.
It is. It's in his book. It's in his book,
right, but it's not of his writing.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it could just describe his viewpoints, and just because it's not from his book.
He published it, and it's just someone describing his viewpoints right before.
Yeah.
But there's more to it. If you look at it,
just word it better than that.
yeah, he's definitely not espousing moral relativism. I kind of share the confusion, Tasteless, with the way you're describing him.
I'm sorry, what?
Tasteless, can I ask a question?
Sure.
All right. So what I'm getting from what you're trying to say is that his view is in the world that we live in, morals are subjectively held, based off of like what we read from the expert, which is your ethnicity, where you were born, et cetera, how you were raised. That in the world we live in, morals are subjective. But what you were saying about the meta ethics is that's different in that somebody is claiming that something is meta if it is the absolute highest value of a system, and that is there a distinction between this claim that a meta ethic is the highest value from somebody who says the meta value in the system is where morality comes from?
No, the meta ethics, it means like beyond, like the attempt or the study of meta ethics is you are trying to figure out what morality is, right? Where does it come from, right? Where is it born? That is the meta-ethical position. Where you observe morality to be, you will hold a different position. That doesn't mean that you are going to be ruled, because it is not a normative framework. Now, in what I posted here, you are going to utilize applied ethics and normative theory to derive your own values, the way you're going to act in society and with others. That is a different thing than meta-ethics. So what I'm trying to say here, dude, is that Jordan Peterson acknowledges that morality is, relative. Morality, the way that Jordan Peterson sees where morality comes from, he's explaining there. He's saying morality comes as a result of these values that are taught, between the parents, the kids. That's it. That's what morality forms in societies. Now, his particular framework, his normative code is different from that, right? That doesn't mean that he will hold to that as his normative, framework.
I think that you're misinterpreting when he says the neo-Marxist, whatever, postmodern as all the majority of people. His implication, if my memory serves, is that this is a relative few, but a growing few. Not everybody holds this. I think you're confused about what he's saying about those people that hold this view.
I mean, in the expert, it seems that he was saying that those people are the people who claim that their morality is objective, and that from the quote, it seems that he is giving the advice to be those group, that the solution to morality is that each group has patience, if that's the word you want to use, for the other groups that have differing moral outlooks.
Did you call the excerpt the expert?
No. Chaos is the only thing you do. Try
I
to
mean,
look
what's
for
the
words
death?
that I slip on.
No, I
Say
just
something
thought
of
that was a very
substance, man.
amusing prospect. Oh, I'm not interfering with you guys' conversation.
Yeah, I'm just gonna mute you. You're annoying.
Okay, good.
Fun times. When somebody doesn't want to actually have a see the point of listening. But
Yeah,
tasteless.
sure, whatever.
So what I what I was saying is can you try to what do you see as Peterson's moral outlook from what you've read from him?
Well, listen, I
hasn't
haven't
read anything
read.
from him.
Yeah, I haven't read.
Can I actually have well anyway?
He
can I just
hasn't
have an
read
excerpt from-
any of Jordan.
No, but
Peterson.
I've seen many interviews, and I am not sure, right, that I can point. I couldn't say where does he get. Okay, no, yes, I have the information. So he basically says he takes Jesus and the archetype of Jesus, the hero, the ultimate hero, to be like the
meta value.
well. I don't know if that's the meta value.
That's just the word he used when he was talking with
Well,
Matt.
I think that he uses Jesus as an example, as a model for him to follow, and he acts, as if Jesus was real. That would imply that he
Jesus to you.
follows. That would imply that he follows the commandments, perhaps, or not maybe the commandments, but Jesus. Jesus's
maybe he takes
example.
away with the good. Yeah, he takes the good from him and uses
Exactly. I would say that is his, let's say, his normative framework, like his ethical framework for him to act in the world.
Well, Tasteless, I sent you the book in PM, so when you get a chance, you can take a look at it.
Thank you, dude. Yeah, sure. I'm gonna read it.
Thank you.
By the way, Tasteless, I watched your YouTube video where you edited Jordan Peterson to sort of trail off in his sentences and act like a total goofball. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
Did someone else say they wanted the book? Okay.
Only so I can burn it.
It's a PDF. You can't. Well, I mean,
You can delete it over and over again. You can duplicate it, delete it, duplicate it, delete it.
Oh, I've never thought of that. I need to get more technically minded.
You could write a script that automatically duplicates and deletes it continuously for eternity. Launch it into space.
Until your processor goes bad.
Oh, this is great, man.
Yeah. I would encourage taking it only like 3 chapters at a time. He's wordy. He's very wordy.
Peterson?
Yeah, he's terrible. He's one of the worst writers on these issues.
Who's he trying to proselytize for? What writer?
Gotcha.
And
Yeah.
also, there's a
What writer
lot
is
of
he talking about?
spelling errors. So just so you know, you're gonna have to